Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Invitation to a Conversation. My guest today is City Manager Regina McDuffie. How you doing today, Miss McDuffie?
I'm really good. I'm good. Thankful to be able to communicate with the community today.
Thank you. It's always good to have you. And I like to say that I'm just thankful and appreciative that you agreed to come on every quarter to give the people an update of what's going on in the city. And especially this is for those people who are not out in the community like we are, and just to inform them of what's going on. And maybe we can get more people to come out today.
Yeah, I think that that's a tremendous goal and something that, I think it's really, really important. We, want the people of the city to be able to, enjoy all of the things that are in the city.
Yes, and happy National Women's Month too to all
Thank
the
you.
beautiful women. Yes, Miss McDuffie. The last time we met in December, there were some infrastructure going on in the city. Can you tell the viewer audience what improvements have been completed so far since December?
Well, I think everybody is aware of the L Street project, and finally, it is finished and completed, and the road is open, and I think people are enjoying it. See how the drainage areas have been improved, and just how I guess the road improvement really impacts the community. So that was one. We also have started the work in Magnolia Park, where there is a complete overhaul of the water system, the drainage system, and the roads in that area. We have completed an application for the College Park area, and that's a joint application that's been done through the county. The county will be heading that, but the city has a very huge part of the project that's being planned. So those are some of the things, and they are tremendous improvements in the community that we hope that people understand how impactful they can be going forward.
I rode down L Street yesterday, and it looks so lovely with the sidewalks added to it.
Yeah, and I mean, one of my things is, improving neighborhoods and the roads, the sidewalks, those improvements, even though, people don't look at them as necessarily impactful, they are very impactful to, initiating improvements in a neighborhood.
Can you tell us what is the near future of infrastructure for the city?
Well, we have plans, and I'm glad to say we had a road assessment done. And when you talk about infrastructure, you talk about the water and sewer, the drainage system, the road system, the sidewalks. Those are what we consider the infrastructure of our community, including housing as well. And we had a road assessment that we are going to present to the mayor and commissioners within the next couple of meetings. I'm not sure when it's going to be scheduled, but that is a plan that we have kind of an analysis of all our roads in the city, and to tell us the condition of the roads and sort of give us a map on how to go through with the improvements of the road system. We also have a stormwater master plan that we are working and looking at to see how we can prioritize some of the stormwater improvements, to help with the drainage, so that if we have another weather event, hurricane or some large storm, that we can better manage the water output, once it's those storm systems come in. In addition to that, we have several housing programs that's going on, the disaster recovery program. We have our annual CDBG program, the housing rehabilitation, that we're trying to do. And there's a lot of the other programs that are working to improve housing around the community. The land bank, they are meeting and trying to start working on the inventory of properties that they hold, just to just continue improvement in our housing infrastructure here in the community.
Can you tell the viewing audience a little bit about the CDBG program, and if it's still any openings that can be filled?
Well, right now we have a list of houses that have been submitted for application for the CDBG, and that's the Community Block Grant Program. Um, and we have a list of housing. So we're kind of suspending our intake at this point until we can kind of mitigate the ones that we have on the list. We have been having some issue with, just getting those projects moving forward and with the approval through the federal housing program. They've been very slow about approving some of the things that we've submitted. And I will be talking next week with the congressman to try and, get him to understand how he can hopefully help us to get those processes where they're moving, better. Because when someone submits a improvement, like we have ones that are listed from last summer that have not been done because the application process went so, slow. And when someone needs an improvement last summer, if we can't get it done right away, it's going to continue to deteriorate. So, I want to impress upon the federal government and the congressman how important it is for these programs to be more efficient.
Is this program for everybody in Brunswick and Glenn County, or is it just certain zip codes?
It's actually for the city of Brunswick within the, zip code of the city. And it also has some qualifications or criteria in terms of low to moderate income, and there's some certain criteria that you have to meet in order to participate in those programs. My thing is to try and help, people with disabilities, people, the elderly especially is, my main concern is people who are elderly, who are on a fixed income, who needs the assistance and just cannot, afford to keep up with the maintenance and upkeep of their homes.
So is the whole entire city underneath just one zip code, 31520?
Yeah. Yes, most of everything in the city is in the 31520 zip code. And
Okay.
part of the county is in that zip code as well.
Okay. Looking around the city, I see a lot of new homes going up, and there's three particular property divisions that I want to talk to you about. And the first one is Brunswick Commons, which is located behind Big Lots on Altama Avenue. Can you tell us
Yeah,
something about that?
that is a very nice public-private partnership, I think. And those homes will be, I think it's, I can't remember the number of units there, but they will have a large number of units. It may be 84. I'm sorry, I don't have my notes in front of me. But I know it was a $40 million investment, and it's certainly just really a nice area for low, moderate income homes. And it will be one of the properties, hopefully with, a great management and maintenance plan.
And to my understanding, isn't that property also a part of Brunswick Public Housing?
Yes, well, that's why I said it. It's kind of a um, public partnership with the private developer. So we have several programs that have come about that have public-private partnerships such as that. And I'm trying to pull up my notes right now because I want to make sure, that the information that I'm providing to you is appropriate and proper. So unfortunately, I don't see well, yes, I do. I have it right here. Um, yeah, the Brunswick Commons, I thought I had that incorrect. Yeah, it's a $15 million project. I think when I said 40 million, that was all of the ones, including Perry Place, Port City Lofts, and the Brunswick Commons.
And so people that are on Section 8 are can have homes in Brunswick Commons. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I believe, yes, it will encompass some Section 8 properties. I think they limit sometimes what those properties are because they want to have a mixed income development. So they may limit the number of Section 8 properties in that unit, but yes, I think they will have some opportunities there.
Okay. Um, And the new one being built right now on for Altama Avenue is Perry Park Place. How's it
Right.
coming along?
Yeah, that one I think is probably more impactful for me because when I first came to Brunswick and looked around and I was looking at the housing along that Altama or Martin Luther King corridor, I felt like that's one of the gateways to the city. And really, our housing on that corridor needed to be improved. So Perry Place is a really nice structure that's going to give us a really refreshed look for that area. It's a $13 million unit and it will have, I think it has 7 buildings and maybe 50 units. So it's really going to be a nice component there on that corridor and give us a really refreshed look for the city.
Are both of these complexes have 1 to 3 bedrooms or more bedrooms, or how is it designed? Do you
I
know?
think most, I'm not sure, but I think most of them will have a 2 to 3 bedroom with the most of the properties. They may have some 1 bedrooms since they will cater to seniors as well. But I think most of the units will have 2 to 3 bedrooms. I'm not sure if they'll have a lot more than that, but they may.
Okay. And one of the projects going up now that y'all recently broke ground for was the community on 6th Street behind Willie Weenie Wagon that Habitat for Humanity is putting together. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, I was very excited to attend the groundbreaking for that particular unit. I think they're going to have 15 single family homes, which will be on that footprint, and they will have some green space. And it's really convenient to the elementary school, to the Boys and Girls Club, and even to the high school, where it'll be within biking or walking distance from those amenities. That unit is really nice. I think it's a huge endeavor for Habitat for Humanities. They said that unit will encompass their 100th home that'll be built here in Brunswick. So they were really excited and pleased to be able to roll that out. Those 15 units will be low to moderate income homes as well. And, just provide a community neighborhood feel for that area.
Do you know at this point what the name of that community is? Is it a gate? Is it going to be a gated community, or does it have a special name to it?
It's going to be called Century Homes because, like I said, they have their 100th home that's being built in that unit. But no, I don't think it's going to be gated. I think it's going to be open, just a part, kind of an extension of the current community that's there.
When we first started talking about Perry Park Places and the other complexes that are going up, I think you mentioned one that I'm not familiar with. I think you said Lovely or
No,
something.
I said Port City, and those are some lofts that are downtown. That's a part of our unit of developments. We have several residential lofts that are being built downtown. There's also a few homes that are being developed. I think they're over on G Street. And those were from a property that the land bank had held and someone bought and is rehabilitating. And those homes are going up. I think it's 3 homes that they're developing there. And I think they're each 3 bedroom. They have certain plans that they have put together for those. But yeah, we have a lot of housing that's been developed around the city of different levels. And I'm really, really excited about that.
Yes. Oh, I have a question. Oh yes. So the lofts that are being built downtown, is that is that a proponent for people who already live in Brunswick can afford to live there, or is that basically for people for tourists moving into Brunswick? And do you know how much it will be a month?
I'm not sure what the monthly rents will be for those properties, but certainly, I mean, any opportunities will be open to city citizens. But they do expect, people from outside the community. I think they are marketing to people, because it's impactful for us to raise our population. It's always important to revitalize and have new people, an influx of new people coming into the community just to raise the level of quality of life and everything, and to have more exposure in the community. So I think, it is going to be opportunities for citizens here, but it also is going to be opportunities for people moving new to the community.
You gave a presentation recently on city parks. Can you tell our viewers about that, that part of improvement for the city of Brunswick? I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, we were, again, this was one of the things that in our SPLOS that we passed in 2016, which is, we've collected all the money for the SPLOS. Some of the projects were basically put on hold just because we needed to have money for some of the larger projects first. So the parks, we have about $380,000 left to spend for our park improvement. So what we did was we did an analysis of all of the parks and kind of assess what the needs were and what we thought we could do within the framework of the budgets that we had. And we looked at all of the, amenities that were already there and ones that we thought we needed to add. So we took each park one by one and looked at what they had, whether it was a swing set or picnic tables or what have you, tennis court, basketball court, and tried to see what needed to happen in those parks. Most of them, we will be replacing playground equipment or repairing playground equipment. And we want to make sure, that everything in our parks is safe and comfortable for the children and the families that will enjoy the parks. We are putting in shading for some of our playground equipment. And also we want to put in picnic sheds, grills, benches, things like that, and improve the signage and the lighting in the parks. So we, went through the process of assessing each park. We kind of outlined what amenities we wanted to add. And right now, one of the big things that I was working on just this weekend is trying to promote support from outside entities, organizations, individuals, and businesses to support, the improvements that we're going to have at the park. So I'm going to put out a press release or some information to ask organizations and businesses to, donate funding for some of the things that we're planning to do. I want to, like the picnic sheds, I'm hoping to have some of the larger companies invest in, putting up a picnic shed for us, and then we'll put their names as a sponsor of that shed. And we can do the same with the picnic tables and benches and things like that. So we're hoping to get, a lot of partners from the community, from different organizations, and some donations to help with that project.
And when do you think that project will begin?
Well, we've already started. We've already put up fencing because Urbana and the Perry Park area, they wanted a fence because of where the basketball courts were in proximity to the streets. And so we've already put up the fencing there. We've made some improvements in terms of repairs. Some of the things that, we could get in the repair parts and everything for. So we've already started that. We are looking at the big play sets and plate swing sets. It takes time to order and get those things in, but we've already started, placing orders for that equipment. So we're hopeful that by the time we get around May, most of the things will be almost in place.
And getting back to the splash pad, has that project begun, or will it be completed by the end of the summer of this year?
Unfortunately, the splash pad, Orange Park, and I was going to mention Orange and Goodyear Park, we have some kind of things that'll take a little more time. Orange Park is part of a grant process. As you know, when we decided to relocate the splash pad, we decided to apply for a grant for that project because of the cost of it. The estimated cost is around $398,000. So we have applied for a DNR grant for that project. We've gotten pre-approval of the pre-application, but now we're in the phase of submitting the full application. And that full application is going to be due in, I think, next month. So once that gets in, it'll go through a review and analysis process with the DNR. So we have to wait until they award the grant, which hopefully will be around probably midsummer, July, August, and then we can possibly get started about September. So that particular project won't be finished for this season, but we hope to have it, finished by the end of the year or first of next year.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's talk in depth about Splash. We recently just had voted for the Splash for the city of Brunswick. And as you know, it didn't pass. One of the things I want to start this conversation about is how many years can you put out a splash? And when a splash gets voted on, how soon does that money start being, is that money start being collected?
Okay, so right now, as you know, we had a 2016 SPLOST, which ran through 2020. It was basically a 3-year SPLOST, but it started in late 2016 and went through September of 2020. The SPLOST that they were trying to get on the ballot this time would have started, if it was approved this month, of course, it would have started in July and ran for 3 years. So it would have ran through 2024. The SPLOST right now, since we did not get it approved, we cannot put it back on the referendum until 12 months after now. So next March, next May, or next November will be the next time that a SPLOST can be put on the ballot. And I'm hopeful that will be, because I was tremendously disappointed that it did not pass. I've never been in a community where we didn't have SPLOST or pass the SPLOST. So this is a new occurrence for me. Most of the communities that I've been in, we have always had a continuation of the SPLOST and have been able to continue the projects that we start, and complete the projects that we start. So again, this is kind of new ground for me in terms of not having the SPLOST and having this gap of funding for our capital improvements. One of the, I guess, if you can say there's a good thing, we still have money from the 2016 that we're spending. So we will try and complete all of those projects so that when we go out to ask for the money for the new SPLOST, people will see those improvements and have confidence that we, are doing what we need to do with the funding that we have. I think a lot of people get a little bit disoriented thinking that, there's a lot of politics behind the improvements, but in most cases we try, and I'm hoping that the city will continue to be guided by information such as the road assessment and the stormwater master plan and things where we've done assessments to say, this is where you need to focus and place your money, and not necessarily, in somebody's ward or district. Now, we will look at areas that are impoverished and certainly areas that have, more deterioration than others, and hopefully address those needs, because they are priority. But again, I'm just a strong proponent of making sure that the dollars go where they're needed, and not necessarily, have any political involvement in that.
Reading some of the comments while the splash was being voted on and after it passed, was said that the splash went past the time that it should have been collected. Do you know anything about that?
Well, state law will not let you collect money past where it can be collected. What the referendum said, and people get into the numbers, it had an estimated amount of what the SPLOST should collect. And once that estimated amount was collected, some people thought, oh, you should stop collecting money. Well, that's not what state law says. State law says that you can collect the SPLOST for 14 quarters during the SPLOST period. And that's what we did. We collected the money. The money that we put on the front end was an estimate. We don't know how much every project is going to be. So, basically we try and gauge how much those projects are going to be and estimate that dollar amount based on what we think the SPLOST will bring in. That could change. Basically it could have been less, it could have been more, but the state law dictates that we have 14 quarters of collection, and that's what we did. There was no over collection, under collection. Basically we collected for the 14 months that we were authorized to do.
There are many, splash is one umbrella. Is that correct?
Right.
And underneath it is certain different entities or subtitles that goes under that umbrella. How many different components inside that splash do we collect for? You
Well,
mentioned e-splash.
no, no, that's not necessary. When you say SPLOST, you're right. SPLOST can be different components, but the eSPLOST is separate from our SPLOST. Right now, we're at a level of 6% taxation in this community, which there are only 6 communities out of the 159 counties in Georgia that are at 6%. So 6% of taxes is very low. And the reason we're at 6% is because we have 4% of state taxes, 1% of the lost, which is the local option sales tax, and then the eSPLOST, which is the education special purpose local option sales tax. The SPLOST itself it would be a third component, and it would give us that 7% of tax collection. So SPLOST is a special purpose local option sales tax. And you're right, the eSPLOST is separate, but it doesn't go underneath the SPLOST. It is a separate collection of 1%. You can also have a T-SPLOST, which a lot of communities in Georgia have, which is specific for transportation. And the T-SPLOST would be an additional percentage, which would put our sales tax at 8%. In most counties in Georgia, I think about 65 to 70% of the counties in Georgia are at 8% because they have the state tax, the loss, the E-SPLOST, the T-SPLOST, and the SPLOST. And that will get you to the 8%. There are several counties that are at 7% as well because they don't have T-SPLOST. Most of them have SPLOST. And that's why I said it's very rare for communities not to have the SPLOST.
So I want to better understand splash. So when splash is collected, does money get once it gets collected, then does the T splash and the E splash get a part of that whole a piece of that pie?
No. Again, the T-SPLOST and the E-SPLOST are separate 1% taxes that have to be voted on a referendum.
Okay.
Okay, so right now, again, the local option sales tax, right now, when you go to the store and they put the sales tax on your bill, it is right at 6%. That 6% is 4% for the state, 1% for our local option sales tax. And the local option sales tax is the money that goes into the city and county operating budget.
Okay.
And then you have the eSPLOST. Right now, we have an eSPLOST, and that's the education SPLOST. So right now, that 6% is made up of state, local option, and eSPLOST. We don't have the SPLOST, and we don't have the T-SPLOST. That would add another 1% for the the T-SPLOST, and another 1% for the SPLOST. So they're separate pots of money, but all of those, the eSPLOST, T-SPLOST, and the SPLOST, have to be voted on separately in a referendum by the voters.
Okay. Can you tell us what basically cannot be completed or thought about until a couple of years because the splash was not voted on?
Well, the biggest impact we'll have is our road improvements and our drainage improvements, because in our SPLOST proposed for the one that was on the referendum, 71% of that money would have gone toward roads and drainage. So 71% would have been spent on our roads. So those roads, sidewalks, drainage, that money, we don't have any more money. All the money that we have now, we're spending on the projects that we have. So there will be no new projects that'll be started. In addition to that, the other 29% of the money was for equipment such as fire trucks, police cars, public works vehicles, street sweepers, all of the dump trucks, things like that we needed to replace. Those were in that other 29%. Also park improvements and any other, capital or high dollar improvements, such as we were looking at trying to overhaul the city's software so that we can have, better technological efficiencies in the city. So all of those things have to be put on hold at this point. One of the critical aspects, I think, is the replacement of our vehicles, because you never know what's going to break down, and you always need to have funding for fire and police, for public safety vehicles, as well as for public works vehicles. And it'll put a strain on our general fund in order to fund that.
And let me just ask you this hypothetical question. For those people who voted no for Splash or were advertising and saying vote no for Splash, um, do you have any idea of why somebody would vote no, even if they lived in the city? Do you?
Well, I think a lot of times, some people will vote no against everything. Because they are not a part of the what they consider power structure, so they don't want anything to be gained. The other thing is, people don't like additional taxes, and they feel like, okay, I don't want to be taxed anymore, so I don't want to, add another penny to my taxes. So that's another reason why people vote no. And again, a lot of times they don't understand the impact, because they can't directly see it going, straight to where they think it should go. Then they don't want to participate in improvements. But I'm going to always be a proponent of SPLOS, because I feel like we have to start somewhere. We have to make improvements and continuous improvement in order for our community to thrive and grow, and in order for us to improve the quality of life of our citizens. I always want to put money in our roads. I always want to put money in our drainage, in our sidewalks, in our parks. Those are things that I think they need continuous maintenance. They need continuous upgrade. And the only way we can afford that is to have the SPLOST approved. But those are reasons I think people, and sometimes they feel like it's political, which again, I think, we try our best to make sure that we are addressing needs based on priorities and not on political decisions. And I will, again, be a strong proponent of that, and will try, as best I can to make sure we have proper foundation for the money, where it's spent and when it's spent.
Okay. Um, the mayor and commissioners race. This is a big topic in Brunswick right now. What is your forecast on the upcoming race? And do you know all the candidates who will be running for mayor and commissioners posts?
Well, I've had a list of people who I know are running or have announced, or have stated. No one has qualified yet, and until qualifying period, basically anyone can say they're running, but once they qualify is when they really, make that determination. I have met most of the potential candidates. I have sat down. Mr. Riddle has come and asked me questions. Mr. Perry, I've met with him. Mr. Cook, I've met with him. Of course, Vincent Williams is on our commission. So Commissioner Williams is probably the person I know the most. I think there are a couple of other people I haven't met formally, but I think, it's very good that there is interest in, people wanting to lead the city. And most of them have their view and ideas of what they envision for the city. A lot of times people are kind of idyllic about what they think they can, accomplish when they come into office, and then they get in and they find out that government works a certain way. And not saying that you can't change it or it doesn't need to be changed, but there are certain parameters, like we have tremendous restrictions on how we can spend money and what we can spend money for. So there are things that you have to work within in order to get things done. And sometimes it's like with the CDBG, I would like to take the money that we get every year and be able to go, fast and forward with fixing houses, rehabilitation, reconstructions, and what we need to do. But it just doesn't happen like that because of all the restrictions, guidelines, requirements, and everything you have to set forth. So, I think it's really good for people to have great interest in becoming mayor. And I'm hoping to be able to work with whoever comes in effectively and efficiently.
What are the qualifications to become mayor? or commissioner for the city of Brunswick?
I really can't speak to that. I'd have to look at the charter. There's not a lot of what you would call qualifications. I think one of the only ones that is really is being a resident of the community for a 12-month period prior to qualifying or running for mayor.
What would you say to those candidates who think that once they become mayor, that if they have, what do you say to those who want to be mayor, that it's a team decision on things that have to be decided for the city. It's not an individual idea or thought or change, but it has to be a combination of all the commissioners along with the mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. I clicked on the mute. I'm sorry. The way that the city is governed, um, it's a strong commission type governance. So the mayor is a part of the commission. And basically any votes that are taken, and most of the time they would like to have a consensus with the group so that they can have unanimous votes. But it has to have a voting majority. The mayor is not a, single vote that's stronger than any of the other votes that are taken. And a lot of times when votes are taken and they're unanimous, people look at them and say, oh, everybody's just going along. Well, in most cases, they have come to a consensus about those votes. And if they have one dissenting vote, I mean, if it's not going to change anything, then they usually get a unanimous vote.
Okay, well, I just want to say congratulations to those who are running. And I'm sure that the people will speak and choose their next commissioners and the next mayor. Um, Ms. McDuffie, what would you like to tell the viewing audience today?
Well, I would like to just tell everyone that, the city and county are working better to try and work together so that collectively we can all share in the prosperity and growth in the community. And I think people, sometimes sit back and wait to see what happens. I would encourage them to get out and try and be a part of what's happening. Try and engage in some of the activities, try and learn more about, the changes that are coming about. And if, we always have public hearings, we always try and generate public comment. Everything we do with the transportation, with any changes in road improvements, we have to go out to the public for public input. Most of the time we don't get a lot of response. And that, is disheartening because people want to, I guess, complain sometimes about what's being done. But when we reach out and say, hey, give us your input, please tell us, how this is going to impact you. Please tell us how we can better, make this better for the community. We don't get, a really good response. So what I would say is I would encourage people to, join in the things that are happening. I mean, come downtown and see the improvements that are making. And if you see something that you think would help you be more a part of the community or part of what's happening, then voice your opinions.
Ms. McDuffie, how long have you been our city manager now?
As of this month, it's been 10 months.
I want to say, let me tell you something. Since you have been our city manager, I didn't know the last one personally, but I want to say that you came in here with your gloves on, hands on, and I've seen the changes and the improvements in the city. And I just want to thank you for coming here from Macon, loving our city, and teaching us and helping us to improve and make changes for our city. And I've always loved having you on. You make me better as a interviewer. And I just thank you. And I enjoy talking to you all the time. I may not see you all the time in your office, but I do enjoy talking to you. You have a lot of wisdom. You bring a lot of knowledge from the different positions you held before coming here. And I just hope that the city of Brunswick is treating you well, because I think you're a blessing to us.
Well, thank you so much for that. I've been in local government, which I um, consider as a public servant for over 30 years. And it wouldn't be something that I would do if I didn't enjoy it. And I really, want to have a positive impact on any community that I go into. I want to be, take ownership of that community, and I want to serve the citizens of that community effectively. And, it's what I feel like is my contribution to this life that we live, is to try and help others, have a better quality of life. And that's basically the motivation that I have to do what I do and to move forward. And, Brunswick has been a really refreshing, nice place. And I've enjoyed the time that I've been here, working with the mayor and the commissioners, working with the county manager and the government, and certainly with the citizens and the people here. There are a lot of challenges here, but there are challenges everywhere. And for any community that I've gone in, there's no lack of work to be done. So I'm hoping to just continue to move the city and the area forward.
Well, thank you, Ms. McDuffie, and I will see you here again in the next quarter, where will be June. And so I hope that you have some more updates for us, and you continue to have a blessed weekend.
Thank you. You do the same. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Have a blessed day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.